Hey guys, welcome back to Shop Life. Today I'm going to be talking about a topic that's been brought up through email, through messages, and even on the comment section down below. So the topic is going to be about what you need to do to open up your own shop. And if you should open it, tips and advice for opening your own shop. So first of all, let me go and address the difference between owning a shop and owning your own shop. So when you own a shop, that means that you're just the money behind it. You might manage it and stuff like that, but you're not really doing any of the work. And owning your own shop is you're the money behind it, you're doing all the work, you're managing, you're pretty much doing it all. And that's what we're going to be discussing today. So first let me go and tell you guys a little bit about me. So I'm 20, I opened my first shop when I was 17. That was back in Charlotte, North Carolina, where I grew up. And then this is my second shop right now. This is in Wendell, North Carolina. And I came up here to go to college at NC State. And I'm actually opening up another shop in Alhambra, California, which I'll be moving there within a month. And that's going to be my third shop, where I'm going to be doing mainly customer cars. So the past two shops were more based on working on my own cars. I opened a dealership while I was down here, and I was just, fixing up the cars here, selling them there. And then I've also done a few customer cars and swaps and stuff like that. So that's the purpose of these two shops. So whenever I open up another shop, I always close the one before. So it's not like I have three open right now. So just to clarify that as well. Another thing, I am not rich, I'm not wealthy, my parents aren't wealthy, none of that. All the stuff that I have is because of hard work. So it's not like I inherited anything. A lot of people were wondering about that as well. Now that that's cleared up, let's go ahead and dive into today's discussion. So first things first, do you need a shop? So the main reason I got a shop was I was doing everything out of my house. I got into cars because of my first car. And that I was doing basic stuff like oil changes and brakes. And now I wanted to learn more about cars, so I had bought 3 part out cars, and they were completely wrecked and stuff, and I was taking them apart and learning as I went on. And I was doing all that out of my backyard. And that's when the community people started questioning stuff, what I was doing, and then they started complaining, and then the HOA got involved, and they were trying to find me. And that's the main reason I got a shop. So when you want a shop, it's different than when you actually need it, because once you have a shop, it really becomes a lifestyle. Everything you do focuses around the shop. You have a bunch more expenses. You have to worry about how you're going to pay all your bills. You have to do business licenses. There's a lot more involved than just getting a place. Now, if you're just doing it as like a hobby and storage place, that's a different story, and you don't really have to worry about any of the paperwork. You just got to sign the lease. But then you still have that extra overhead expense. So you really got to question yourself, do you really need it or do you want it? Because as soon as you get a shop, that doesn't mean that you're going to be making a lot of money, because you still have to advertise, you have to build your customer base, and it's just a lot more extra work. If you're just doing it as a hobby, if you could do it at your house or find someone else's place that you could do it at without signing any leases or stuff, that's going to be your best bet. As I was saying earlier, I learned how to work on cars by parting out those cars I had bought at first. So a lot of you guys are going to be wondering, how did I have money for that? And that's all mainly from when I was in 7th grade, I started working on technology. So I would repair computers, Xboxes, PS3s, cell phones, whatever you name it, even set up security cameras for businesses. So that's where I had the funds for that. And I mean, the part out cars, you can buy part out cars for really cheap. They're less than $1,000 off of many public auctions. So if you want to learn, I suggest that's your best way. There's also other opportunities, like you could go to school for it, and you might even have some family. I personally didn't have any of those resources available. I was only like 16 at the time, not even 16, yeah, 15 to 16 at the time. So there's not really any automotive schools I could get into or anything like that. That's why I just went the part out route. And honestly, I could say that I learned a lot more than I would have just learned by going to school for it, because there's a lot of places that really don't give you as much hands-on experience as is required when you're working on cars. So just find out what works best for you. If you have parents, or if you have any other family that's into cars that knows how to work on them, that's going to be really your best bet, because they can teach you as much as you need to know, and you can always go back to them whenever you need help. So that goes on to our next topic. If you are trying to open your own shop and you are just beginning, you really haven't worked for anybody yet, you really don't have that much experience, you're gonna want to have someone that's really experienced to look after you. So pretend if you were doing a customer's car and you just got stuck somewhere. you're gonna wanna have someone that knows their stuff that you can call, or they can come over and help you out. That way you're not really messing anything up. So for me, I was lucky enough to find a guy named Brad. He lived in Charlotte at the time too, and I had went to him for some speakers and stuff for my car when they had blown out. And I met him through Craigslist, and he was parting out cars.
Is that a bee?
Yes.
Oh my God, get off!
So I found him through Craigslist, and he was pretty much doing what I started out doing, which was parting out cars. Now he was doing all this out of his house, and he actually knew a lot about Beamers. So whenever I did get stuck, I did have that helpline pretty much. Although that wasn't very often, but if I did need it, I knew I could just call him up and he would be able to help me out, even off the phone. So you're gonna want to have someone that you can call up, or email, or whatever it might be, to get help if you are stuck. It's really hard to if you open up your shop, the first month you're gonna have your security deposit, the first month's rent, all your utilities, any deposits for any utilities as well. Then you also have to do advertising. You might have to install some stuff at the shop. You have to get your garage liability insurance. There's a lot of expenses all at once. And then on top of that, you still have to buy tools. And there's no way that you can take up all of that unless you're getting loans and stuff. If you're getting a loan, a business loan or whatever, we're not even discussing that right now. But if you're not, you're gonna have all those expenses all at once. So you're gonna wanna have at least some kind of customers that are already lined up for you to go ahead and start making some money. Because if you don't do that, then it's going to be really hard for you to pay all those bills. For me, I had my customer base mainly through all my technology repairs I was doing. A lot of them had just basic cars, Hondas, Toyotas. Some of them did have Beamers and stuff. It was really simple, and they would always refer me because I was doing honest and quality work. So I would always have referrals, and I had people that were already coming to help me pay the bills, and I could still work on my own cars, still part them out. I was still having funds from there as well. So even when you're parting out cars, it requires different licenses as well that you have to get. We're not going to discuss any licensing or anything of that in this video. If you guys are interested in that, feel free to leave a comment down below, and I can go ahead and discuss all the paperwork that's required. Even if you guys want me to do a video on how to open up a dealership or anything like that, feel free to leave a comment down below. Like I said, with all the expenses that you're going to be incurring in the first month, or even first year actually, is tools. So a lot of people think that you have to get Snap-on or Mac tools, and you can't just work with the basic cheap tools. So as you guys know already, if you guys have been keeping up with my channel, all of my tools are from Harbor Freight unless I had to buy something just right away. So Harbor Freight, everybody knows they're cheap, they're made in China, they usually don't last as long, but it all really depends on how you use them. If you're using the right tool for the job, it's going to last as long as you take care of it. But Harbor Freight, even on that, has warranty on all of their hand tools. So if you break it, as long as you have a receipt or something on your account, you can go ahead and just swap that out. So you don't even have to worry about that. So you got to really consider, do you really need those expensive tools? You can always invest in them later if you really, if you really want them. But I really don't see the point. I know people are going to comment down below, oh, Snap-on has better quality, they have more teeth and they're more smoother. Does that really matter? And most of these jacks and stuff, those, a lot of people, even professional shops, use Harbor Freight because they're practically the same product and they're just rebadged. So another thing that I highly recommend if you are going to be opening your own shop to work on other people's cars and stuff is to have something that you're really, really good at. There's no point of opening a shop if you're still not really good at what you're doing, because then you're going to be taking a lot longer and you're not going to be getting paid as much. And you shouldn't be learning on other people's cars anyways. So whenever I was working on someone's car, I only accepted jobs that I knew how to do. Everything else I was still learning on my own cars, like parting out cars and stuff. Try to specialize in a certain area, like a certain brand of cars, or just doing a certain type of service. Like there's a lot of shops that do just brakes, oil changes, any other fluid changes. If you do that, that way you have something to start on, and that's like your bread and butter for your rent. Then you can always have different projects that you're working on that you can use to learn to do more. And you can always take classes and stuff as well on part-time pretty much. And that also goes to say, you gotta learn how to say no. So that I had a really hard time doing that, but I did learn in terms of jobs. You wanna say no to stuff that you know you're not comfortable with, especially because there's a lot of harm that you can do, and you might not make as much money as you thought you were going to. If you can say no to something that you don't know how to do, just go ahead and do it. And don't try to underestimate the job, how much it's worth. So there's a lot of resources available where you can check how long it's going to take you to do the job. There's a lot of tutorials available online like YouTube and the forums that you can just estimate how long it's going to take and what all it's going to require you to do. That way you can base your price on that. Alright, so now that if you figured out what you're going to do at your shop and if you really need it or whatever, you really have to look and think about the location of the shop. So all of my shops that I've had, so just the 2 that I've had, they've been in far away from like major cities. So they're a lot cheaper for me, but it's harder for me to get business. For me, that really didn't matter because I was doing more work on my own cars, so it wasn't that big of a deal. But if you're going to be doing customer cars, you're going to want to be in a spot that's close to everything. That way people can come to you, drop off their car, do whatever they need to do. You also have to check for zoning. So you have to check with the city wherever you're getting the shop, make sure that that area is zoned for whatever you're going to be doing. So like I was saying earlier, in terms of legal stuff, you have to get licenses, you have to get insurance for your garage liability, and that's pretty much if something does happen, like while you're even not there, or if you're working on something and you mess something up, you're covered. And there's a lot of different options available for that as well, different types of coverage and all that, and I'll go through all that stuff later on in another video if you guys want me to. Then you're also going to want to make sure that you're doing everything in terms of the laws that are wherever you're at. So North Carolina, you can call the DMV and they can have an inspector come out and help explain to you what all the laws are for repairs or any other thing that you're doing. So you're going to want to make sure you're doing everything legally. And then taxes. So make sure you're keeping records of everything. So even when you first start the corporation or whatever, and even whenever all your startup costs, advertising, everything, you're going to want to keep records of everything. That way, whenever tax time comes, you can count all that as expense and do all that. You can always hire an accountant and they'll help you explain that as well. So now let me give you some tips that I've learned on my own experiences. Customers. You don't want to have customers that are going to try to lowball you all the time. Your main goal is to try to get customers that are going to keep coming back. So if you are honest and you're doing quality work, they're probably going to end up making you their main mechanic. And they'll also refer you to other people, so you all have more customers coming in. And like I said, you have to know your stuff. Whatever it is, you have to know how to do it before you accept the job. You don't want to mess up a customer's car because that's going to ruin your reputation. Another thing, a good way to get people coming as well is to advertise. Do social media. There's so many options available for advertising. Make sure your customers are good and you're treating them well, and you have to be honest and you cannot be ripping anybody off, because nowadays there's so many resources available even for customers to check out what's really happening. Like I said, they can even look up tutorials and see what's going on, what really needs to be done. So do not do anything sketchy. Another thing, you have to learn how to accept criticism. So especially if you're going to be advertising on social media, like you could be taking like what I'm doing. I'm making YouTube videos, and that's not even more of like an advertising thing. I'm making YouTube videos to teach people how to work on cars. But if you guys look down my comment section, there's always people that are giving me suggestions on what I should do differently, even for tools and stuff like that. And I'm not the kind of guy to just go off on somebody because they gave me some advice or they criticized me on what I was doing. You have to accept it and you have to learn from it. So some people might not know what they're doing, and they might just be just typing or just giving you criticism for the hell of it. But you gotta just weed it out, and you just gotta make sure that you're confident enough to take criticism from other people. And another thing, this goes on with the saying no, is you have to know your limits. So if you think that you can do something and you're not 100% confident about it, just don't do it. You have to know your limits. So do not try to show off or be like, oh yeah, I could do it, because that's not going to turn out good usually. And when you have a business, you're always going to be reinvesting any profits that you are making, because you're going to want to make your business better, and that's going to always happen. You're going to try to, you want to try to have some money go in your pocket. That way you have at least some kind of return on investment. But that you're usually not going to make a whole bunch of money right away. So another big thing that I personally avoided was going into a partnership, because when you have a partner, you really don't know what's going to happen once the business starts running. So they can be doing all the work, or they could not be doing any work, and you're going to be forced to do all the work. And then expenses and all that stuff. It's just a lot of headache. So try to avoid it if you can. And if you do know them very well and you want to go for it, just make sure you have everything written down and everything is legal. Now the last thing, as the name of my channel, Shop Life, when you have a shop or any business for that matter, it is a lifestyle. Everything you do is going to be consumed by your business. True, because you're going to try to make it the best it can be. Everything I do is like, has to do with the shop. Like school. I'm doing school and the shop at the same time, and I've been doing this since I was in 7th grade, balancing both. But the shop really does take away a lot of time. I try to focus on school as well because school is still, my main priority, but you still got to take care of the business. Whenever I'm in school, I'm still thinking of what I'm going to do at the shop once I'm out, and how can I make everything better? You're always going to want to keep going and pushing yourself. You never want to really get comfortable, because once you get comfortable, you really don't try to make the business better. You don't try to make yourself better. It's just, you're just at a flat point. I mean, there's no more going up. And that's one of the main reasons I'm moving to California and opening up a shop there. I want to make myself better at what I'm doing. I want to, make the business better, make it more of a brand instead of just, just a small little shop. Because this is my future. This is what I want to do for the rest of my life. I know I'm going to school and stuff. That's my main priority, but that's not what I really want to do with the rest of my life. I'm only 20, as you guys know, but I do have a lot of experience with what I've been doing. And I mean, just in terms of business and stuff, I feel like I'm pretty good at what I'm doing right now. I mean, I still have a lot to learn, and I hope to learn a lot more from other people and from just doing what I'm doing. So if you guys really have any questions, any concerns, feel free to comment down below or message me on Instagram. And I mean, I'll try to get back to you guys as much as I can. As you guys know, I'm really busy with the relocation right now. And another thing about YouTube comments. So if I comment back to somebody, I usually comment back to everybody all at once, like at least once or twice a week I try to do it. But with YouTube comments, once I comment back, and if you guys comment back on that comment, I really can't see it under my video manager page. So I have to look at the notification. And sometimes the notifications clear itself as soon as I open it up with my mobile app. So the best way to contact me is through Instagram. Just message me. And I know if you message me, I get the message. A lot of people comment on YouTube as well saying they message me. If I haven't got back to you yet, that just means I really haven't had the time to look at it. And I will get back to you as soon as I can. I try to respond to everybody. And if there's any negative comments, I'm just going to delete it because I really don't want any negativity on the channel. So thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for more vlogs. If you guys like this type of discussion, feel free to comment down below and I'll try to do more of this as well.